Hey, Mark. Good. What are you talking about now?
How are you doing?
I have the presentation and I have the statement. They're gonna be up in a separate window though. They'll be in the Chrome window. But if you ask for them, if you say you need them, I can just pull them up for you. They'll bring it.
Your post about your
I can actually give you a
ladies
good
who
estimate. Give me like
did a
5 minutes
presentation
and I can
or
pull up the
something.
time estimate on my
That
computer.
sounded
The one from,
amazing. I was like, I love when women.
So I'm the president of Women Assist on TV, so my whole team is
That's so great.
our meetings. We get a ton done. Honestly, our meetings laugh a lot, and if somebody's not feeling it, we just take a few minutes and we just support the person. And sometimes there's tears, and it's just amazing. When Chuck was in the hospital, we took a whole meeting. We just talked about that. I was bawling my ever-loving eyes out, and we just talked about the whole meeting. Did nothing on the agenda, and then afterwards, everybody sent me all the stuff we were supposed to talk about, and they just did it up in a WebEx team room. Yeah, it's how it should be all the time.
Well, here, that whole post, I could feel it. You know.
Oh my God, it was fantastic.
I love it.
You. I do love Creek Week. Wish, look, hey Tony, it's been quite a while. We've done a storm drain cleanup creek cleanup in ages because of COVID, I guess. I definitely haven't.
Yeah, we've had groups
I would
do
do a
it.
stream cleanup. I had fun that day. Sweet.
Yeah, a little bit.
Steve, you have the invocation. You ready?
I actually forgot, so I just whipped it out, literally, 2 minutes. I totally forgot.
I literally forget every time. It's me, every time.
How are you?
Hope it's good, I don't know.
Good.
Of course it's good. Come on, Jimmy.
Yeah, how are you?
Hey, good. How you doing, TJ?
How you doing? If I don't get these shirts right, you all just switch them up.
Oh, great.
On battery or something?
No, just a timestamp.
I think we are going to be out of here before 1 a.m. I don't care what it says. Actually, I haven't read it, so I don't know.
Thank you. Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I hope I got your own sizes right. Good, thank you.
Not necessarily.
Well, I said, is it more than this? I don't know.
Jeez, Martha. Eric.
Oh, well, then so. I know that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I go shopping with these.
Okay. Oh, my goodness.
Hey. Is anybody here to receive? Excellent.
There's not anyone here to receive any of the property. Oh, yeah, except for the creek, yeah, except for the creek. No, she, they had like a big meeting in DC. Right? She said she wanted to attend.
Really care.
Yeah, this
You-
one's
In
fine.
the email, you had something different.
All correctly, yes.
And I could have read the email incorrectly too. I don't care.
What's the other one?
Women's History Month.
It's longer.
No, it's not really long.
It's Women's History. Oh, declaring March as Women's History Month. Celebrating women in public.
Very different.
Very different. I don't think it's very different.
No, I would agree. I would agree.
Getting that detail right?
And since you're employees of the town. But you didn't come to a meeting last Thursday, you skates.
I thought I went to Employee Appreciation Day.
I think
I
it's
got-
celebration of Service Day.
Yes.
Or Years of Service Day.
Yeah. That's different.
This was National Employee Appreciation. But actually, it was last 10th.
Lori's in charge of personnel. She is falling down on the
Was
job.
it the 10th or the? Yes, no.
Fun place to work.
But I guess it's not PC to say secretary anymore.
Yeah, I have a room saved.
Yeah, because I asked her, and
Yeah, don't. Do I have to take your back away from you till after the meeting?
she said she'll send me an email.
Yeah, you just let me know.
Even Mark was asking, when are you going, when are you coming on it? I don't know, I don't even see it.
I got you.
Hey, Eric, can you give me the proclamation for the soil so that
Mayor Colley has it.
okay, I'll take it then.
I think he was handing them out.
Signed it?
It should already be signed.
I have to read it.
Did you need a formal copy that you were gonna
I
get?
just need to read it, that's all I care about.
Yeah, you should have it there.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you
Doing
tonight?
good, doing good.
You gotta sign it too?
If you're just gonna read it, are you gonna give it to someone?
They will be coming, I think.
I can print one out for you. That's what I'm saying, is the photos. I'd rather watch it.
You can do anything. I'm gonna have to start changing on this side.
What is, oh, yeah. Holy shirts, I don't think they're even, I don't think they're gonna even distribute the holy shirts because they're so small. I might take a 2XL.
Morrisville shorts.
Oh, your order? Yeah, we can talk to Eric later.
Yeah, I didn't know, but like, because now at least I know what I'm hearing.
Talk to Martha for a minute. I gotta-
The mayor's gonna still need to sign that copy. Yeah, this was just like a throwaway. This is a formal one for us to give away, so I swapped them out.
No, that's not.
You already have one thing that you have to
Yeah, no.
So what, you told the world?
I told you. Well,
So will Maggie follow her?
So I'll tag it on Facebook.
so she doesn't want my money.
I wondered if she had told Kevin and Kevin had told you. I'm like, are you being sworn secrecy or?
Both of us, she doesn't
might have
want,
been
she
a
wants
text.
to wait till later.
That's a long time away.
Yeah, and she's like, nothing on the calendar. Call grandma. She wants us to see the whole thing, and she's not inviting the whole family, that's the other thing. Very small. But I was like,
So, because I thought, I wonder if they'll have a double wedding, and then.
oh yeah, so it's funny, so after we hung up, Kevin said, when's the other one gonna get engaged? I thought it would happen this past Christmas.
Well, I wouldn't have been
So-
surprised either.
I don't know, that'll happen. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all good.
We're gonna take care of them.
Okay, so I need to play with speaker.
Yes, you can.
All right.
Let me know if it does.
Okay.
And Eric signed it too, right? Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay, no, no, yep, no, that's.
It should
This
pop up.
promises.
No, that really is perfect. Okay, okay. I never know. I didn't realize.
So so this is not on the road? This is. Okay, okay.
We do as well, but I didn't know if people like them to. Okay, thank you.
By the way, I think it's because you don't hear enough. Fracture.
They didn't do anything?
It's a non-displaced radial styloid fracture. So it is probably why I'm still having pain. But I can go back in a month and either therapy or there's a shot. Brace it. They said they'd have to brace my thumb.
Oh,
I
don't know.
Hands it. It is okay. The pain could dissipate in the next couple of weeks, but sure enough, you could see it right there. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that is. Girls, girls, girls. Who wants one? Girls. Wants one.
So it's a, I could probably put it, just a little hairline fracture like right there, which is why I've got the x-rays again, I'm like, right here. Prioritize.
Satish, Steve, Donna, ready to begin?
Good evening. I call this March 14th meeting of the Morrisville Town Council to order. Thank you to those watching via live stream and those who are watching a recording of this meeting. On March 17th, a video of this meeting will be uploaded to www.townofmorrisville.org/government/live-video. Master Officer Alexis Hogan has served as a police officer for 3 years and is currently a patrol officer assigned to Uniform Patrol. We appreciate being here this evening as our Sergeant at Arms. Tonight's invocation will be delivered by Councilmember Rao.
Thank you, Mayor. Please bow our heads. Excuse me. As we gather this evening in the All-America city of Morrisville, we pray that you give the council, staff, and engaged residents the strength and wisdom to continue to lead one of the most inclusive, innovative, and dynamic towns in the nation. We pray for any family who has lost a loved one due to any illness. We are grateful on this AmeriCorps Week for the 200,000 citizens of our nation who dedicate themselves every year to serve their communities, a unifying force of service which is so desperately needed during these times. We pray that you keep our troops free wherever they may be, and we pray for the family of former President Jimmy Carter, the only president, one of the few presidents who used the presidency to help millions of people around the world. During this Women's History Month, we are so very grateful for women's remarkable contributions to our nation, and celebrate the trailblazers who now lead states, serve in Congress, serve as governors, serve as U.S. senators, Vice President of the United States, who drive innovation and job creation and succeed in all sectors of our economy. We are also very grateful this evening for the dynamic and successful women who serve on our town council in Morrisville, including Mayor Pro Tem Liz Johnson, council members Vicki Scroggins Johnson, Ann Rabati, and Donna Fender. We are all the beneficiaries of the strong leadership of these women, including our town manager, Martha Page, the female directors of our staff, and all the women who serve with such grace and humility the residents of our great town. We are grateful for their service, and we appreciate any woman who serves in public office in our region, state, and nation. We thank all of you for doing a remarkable job. Finally, we pray that you always let us imagine a gender-equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive, and that we strive for a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality. Collectively, we can embrace equity. Amen.
Thank you. All who are able, please stand and join in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we adopt tonight's agenda, Town Council policy is to review and ensure there are no conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with any items on the agenda. Does anyone want to share anything at this time? I would entertain a motion to adopt this evening's agenda.
Second.
Second, all those in favor of adopting this evening's agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries 6-0. There are 6 items on this evening's consent agenda: a stormwater control measure agreement, resolutions adopting an ADA transition plan, authorizing street acceptance for Myers Point and Mason Farms subdivisions, a drainage easement abandonment, and a town council 2023. Would anyone like to pull any of these items for discussion or a motion? I'd entertain a motion to adopt this evening's consent agenda.
Make that motion.
Second.
Okay, second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That also carries unanimously 6-0. There's one administrative report this evening, a mobile application update. Administrative reports are provided as information-only items unless council has questions. Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, we'll continue. There are 7 presentations on this evening's agenda: proclamations recognizing Creek Week, Save Soil Day, Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month, Women in Public Office Day, and Women's History Month, a proposed mural program overview, and a Morrisville Springfest update. I will make the first presentation. This proclamation is recognizing Creek Week as March 18th through 25th, 2023. Whereas the first Creek Week in central North Carolina was observed in the city of Durham in 2009 and is now observed by many local governments across the state, and whereas in addition to Creek Week, many local governments and organizations across central and eastern North Carolina have conducted major cleanup efforts to remove trash in waterways, and whereas Regional Creek Week, started by the North Carolina Clean Water Education Partnership in 2021, is a special week set aside where partnership-affiliated local governments concurrently work together to celebrate and steward local creeks and streams. And whereas this impact could be greatly magnified through the collective efforts of additional local governments, organizations, and individuals working together to educate about and protect our waterways. And whereas creeks, streams, rivers, and other waterways support outdoor recreation, fisheries, healthy lifestyles, and safe drinking water supplies. And whereas healthy waterways also support biodiversity, natural beauty, and provide critical habitat for aquatic wildlife. And whereas the town of Morrisville encourages all residents to celebrate Creek Week with a scheduled stream clean, drain marking, scavenger hunt, and educational outreach events. Now therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby recognize March 18th through 25th, 2023 as Creek Week in the town of Morrisville, North Carolina. And at this time, I'd like to ask our environmental specialist, Tony Victor, to approach. I'll present him this, and he can share some ideas about what's going on this upcoming week. First, and then if you'd rather go to the dais, that's fine. Congratulations. Thank you for everything you do. You are on social media all the time. Okay. Mark. Back to Laura. Okay, there you go. Thank you very much.
Hear me okay? This is good? All right. Thank you, as the mayor said. I'm Tony Victor, Environmental Specialist in the Stormwater Division of the Engineering Department. Thank you, Town Council, for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. The NC Clean Water Education Partnership, also known as QEP, has done this, obviously, for the past 3 years. Approximately 23 municipalities are participating this year. As a member of QEP and in conjunction with the regional event, Stormwater Division is hosting Morrisville Creek Week 2023, March 18th through 25th. The purpose of Creek Week is to engage the public on the importance of clean and healthy waterways. Creek Week also helps us in Morrisville meet our National Pollution Discharge Elimination System Phase 2 permit that's issued by North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and is as delegated by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. More importantly, stewardship of stormwater and our waterways is the right thing to do. Throughout human history, water connects us. Live, work, and play in and near water. Water allows us to live connected and live well. Stormwater that flows through and out of Morrisville will pass through many North Carolina communities via the Neuse River and the Cape Fear watersheds on its way to the ocean. It will flow in close proximity to more than 900,000 people along its way. I hope this stresses the importance of being good stewards of our waterways for Morrisville residents and those downstream. This year's Creek Week events, it's hard to do, I know. 12 stormwater drain marking events, 5 stream clean events, 4 public stormwater education booths at the the Western Wake Farmers Market, MAFC, the Senior Center, and Cedar Fork Community Center. We'll also be hosting hosting education tables and doing presentations for K through 5th graders at the Morrisville Community Library 2 nights next week. We'll be posting on Creek Week related information on our Facebook and Twitter, on our social media. That's at TOM Stormwater. If you're not following us, please do. And we have 141 volunteers as of today signed up to participate in the various events. So we thank you very much for your support of Creek Week. Now we need your prayers, your positive vibes, and your good thoughts for cooperative weather. Thank you very much.
Tony. Recognize Member Pro Tem Johnson.
So, Tony, while you're still in the room, I want to make sure you hear this. So we had recently a survey done, and stormwater was part of the survey, and our citizens were above average in understanding stormwater and what it meant and the ramifications. And at the time we commented, it is because of our staff. And I would tell you it is because of you specifically and all the work you are doing working with the citizens and our advisory committee too. So thank you very much. You didn't hear those comments probably that night, and I want to make sure you heard them tonight. So appreciate all that you do to educate our residents and all that you do. Water is critically important, as you said. So Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Garamella will read the next proclamation, please.
Thanks, Mayor. This is a proclamation recognizing Save Soil Day. Whereas Consciousness Planet, Inc., a Tennessee nonprofit corporation whose mission is to make human activity more conscious, to support environmental restoration and advance solutions to the urgent ecological crisis facing humanity. Founded in 2019 by Sadhguru, Conscious Planet first initiative is the Conscious Planet Save Soil movement. And whereas Sadhguru is a global leader and a visionary that was named as one of India's 50 most influential people, Sadhguru has launched several initiatives over the years, powerful examples of bringing together all segments of the society to achieve systems change with lasting, sustainable solutions and ecological and social issues. These initiatives are garnered at the support of the government, public figures, grassroots organizations, and millions of people. And whereas Save Soil is a global movement supported by 81 nations, uniting world leaders, visionaries, influencers, and citizens of all nations behind a common purpose to restore and safeguard the world's soil. And whereas Save Soil aims to address the global soil crisis, recognizing that 52% of the world's agricultural soil are already degraded, and by 2050, 90% of Earth's soil could be degraded. Addressing the soil degradation issue would bring a solution of the loss of biodiversity, nutritional deficiencies, food security, water scarcities, climate change, and mass migration. And whereas the proposed solution is to advocate for policies across all nations towards soil restoration and increase organic contents in agriculture soil and minimize to a minimum of 3 to 6%. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby proclaim March 21st as Save Soil Day in Morrisville, NC. Soil is vital to all life, so we urge all individuals to be a part of the Save Soil movement and participate in creating bright futures for our children and the future of our planet. And at this time, I would like to ask Suresh, who is a volunteer with the Save Soil Foundation, to come to the podium along with other volunteers.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. This and also process coach to come up to this thing. And I didn't prepare any speech, but I just want to say, please visit the website. A lot of information is there. To improve our soil situation. With me, if anybody wants to car, water bottles, or cell phones.
This time, Councilmember Rao will read the next proclamation, please.
This is a proclamation recognizing Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month. Whereas the town of Morrisville is proud to commemorate March 2023 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month, this designation will formalize and expand upon the designation of March 1986 as Hemophilia Awareness Month by President Ronald Reagan and the Federal Department of Health and Human Services designation of March 2016 as National Bleeding Disorders Month. And whereas these bleeding disorders, which share the inability to form a proper blood clot, are characterized by extended bleeding after injury, surgery, trauma, or menstruation, and can lead to a significant morbidity and can be fatal if not treated effectively. And whereas many individuals with hemophilia became infected with HIV and hepatitis C in the 1980s due to the contamination of the blood supply and blood products. And whereas this awareness month will generate greater awareness and understanding of not only hemophilia, but all inheritable bleeding disorders, including von Willebrand disease, which alone impacts an estimated 1% of the US population, or more than 3.2 million individuals. And whereas this awareness month will foster a greater sense of community and shared purpose among individuals with all inheritable bleeding disorders. And whereas this awareness month will elevate awareness of and engagement in the inheritable bleeding disorders journey beyond our community to the general public, enabling the prevention of illness, unnecessary procedures, and disability. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby proclaim the month of March 2023 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in the Town of Morrisville, adopted this 14th day of March 2023.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson will read the next proclamation.
So this proclamation is celebrating Women in Public Office Day. Whereas the month of March is Women's History Month and celebrates the significant contributions women of all races, ethnicities, and backgrounds have made to the world, and whereas women play a critical role in the vitality and diversity of our communities and are essential to ensuring the town of Morrisville is well represented, and whereas while the 20th century was a pivotal time of growth for women entering politics, women remain underrepresented in male-dominated fields, and thus providing opportunities to support women in public office is imperative. And whereas recognizing women in public office will bring awareness to the fundamental necessity of their work and will inspire other young people to serve their communities, now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby proclaim March 19th, 2023 as Women in Public Office Day and call upon the people of Morrisville to unite as we support the success of women in public office and observe every March 19th with appropriate activities, events, and programs.
Thank you. Councilmember Rabati will read tonight's final proclamation.
Proclamation declaring March as Women's History Month. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, and whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the volunteer labor force working inside and outside of the home, and whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation, and whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military, and whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, and whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville does hereby proclaim March as Women's History Month in Morrisville and urges all to celebrate with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. We also invite residents to visit www.womenshistorymonth.gov to learn more about the generation of women who have left enduring imprints on our history. Adopted this 14th day of March, 2023.
Thank you. Brittany Johnson, Planner 2, will facilitate the next presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Now that I've located the mouse. So again, I'm glad to be here with you all this evening and give an update regarding the mural program. I have some good information here for you all, so hopefully if you can just hold your questions until the end and maybe I'll have them addressed by the end. Presentation overview. So the proposed mural program is just one component, as you all know, of the future public art program. It's envisioned as a pilot for the public art initiative. This presentation will focus on the current and planned steps for the proposed mural program and highlight the steps that we made towards facilitating public art. As you all know, I presented to you all in December on the 13th. We talked about the overall program as well as the proposed evaluation process, and you all selected the first 3 mural locations, and we also talked about theme. On January 25th, I presented to the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Advisory Committee. I provided an overview of the program research and findings and also an overview of their proposed role as you all defined in your meeting. Now that we've kind of covered that, we'll go over the flow chart once again. So there are 6 steps in our program. The first step was research. We researched established mural programs and assessed the approval framework, as well as assess the strengths and weaknesses of those existing programs. Step 2 was planning. We formed a multi-departmental mural program, advisory committee rather, and that consisted of staff from planning, public works, communications, and parks and recreation. The third step was framework development. We established the mural program framework. So that entailed identifying mural installation locations, designing an approval process, and identifying potential UDO updates. Our fourth step is pilot program finalization, and that's our current step. So we are looking at site-specific evaluation, also looking at including cost estimates, updating you all once again, requesting funds, recommending and adopting UDO amendments. And again, it's a great place where we are right now because we're able to kind of really get that framework and get everything finalized. So I'm excited to be here with y'all. So the 5th step would be implementation. And so we will be issuing an RFP as well as reviewing those proposals and then selecting muralists. The 6th and final step, I think, is the most exciting, I think, for all of us, which will be installation. So now that we've had that overview, let's kind of recap what you all provided as guidance on last time. So you all selected the first 3 locations. Those locations were Fire Admin, as well as MFAC, and the Shiloh Park Restroom Building. Again, we finalized the approval process. We have the committee of staff of planning, public works, communication, and parks and recreation. We also identified the first 3 locations for installation, as you all decided, and also theme. Our next step will be to release the RFP. Then the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Advisory Committee will review those RFP submittals and then recommend to you all preferred muralist designs for each location. And then once again, you all will select the final design for each location. Next, we will award contracts and then finally commission the murals. As for theme selection, mural themes will be provided to artists by staff. This was based on you all's feedback. The themes will vary by location. For instance, the Shiloh Restroom Building could be based on the location's history. Other locations could be guided completely by muralist creativity. Now let's kind of go over our current steps. The RFP is being drafted. The outline currently includes goals. Our goals have been identified as to, first, to activate and enhance the cultural connectivity and vitality of the town of Morrisville through engaging artwork and creative placemaking. Also to honor the town's history, natural beauty, and cultural heritage. And also to provide an opportunity for public engagement. Our objectives would be to create a mural that is colorful, inspiring to residents and visitors, and to create a mural that reflects the unique characteristics of the town of Morrisville. The selection process, there are kind of 2 steps here. The first step will select up to 4 finalists, will be selected by the Parks, Recs, and Cultural Resources Advisory Committee, and they will then create a site-specific design based on artistic accomplishments, as well as that they are demonstrating with their prior works that they have technical skills as well as comparable scale of past works. Also, we're looking at the fact that they have had some sort of collaboration maybe with multiple stakeholders and working with design teams and projects in urban settings. We also would like them to demonstrate the ability to create artwork that reflects the distinctive characteristics of a place, as well as an ability to complete projects on time and within budget. Step 2, the Parks and Rec Cultural Resources Advisory Committee will then recommend to Town Council the final design selections for artists and artist teams. And then you all will then make your decisions based on artistic merit of design, appropriateness of design for the location, including scale, content, color, and design. We want to make sure that the concept reflects the stated goals of the project as well as artist qualifications and the originality of the design. We are also looking at proposed UDO amendments. They're being drafted as well. We want to first define a mural and differ that from signage. That will be an update to our terms and uses defined. We'll also be allowing painting on brick in cases of public art. And so that'll be through the approved process and program. And then lastly, we want to make sure that we incorporate public art installation into the town center and Park West Village plan development documents. Also, a part of this presentation, I wanted to highlight existing UDO language that helps to facilitate and allows public art. First, we do define art within the UDO. That can be a fountain or sculpture or other similar objects that are cited on a development site as a focal point and intended for public enjoyment. That can be located on both private and public property. Also, our open space design standards allow for architectural design features such as sculptures, water elements, carvings, frescoes. You have mosaics and mobiles as well. And also, we allow decorative shelters for transit riders. This is all subject to the common open space standard. I also want to highlight that art is currently allowed as an accessory use within all zoning designations. So now that we've kind of gone over that, we'll go on to our next steps. One, we are actively doing research to make sure that we are ready with our site-specific details. That would be location on the facade of those murals and as well as sizing. We're also looking at budget and cost analysis. The program is currently unfunded. However, the fiscal year 24 budget request includes the pilot program. We're looking at artist stipend, which could range anywhere from $5,000 to $12,000. That will be predicated on size. The artist will have to utilize this stipend to purchase all paint and all required supplies in order to turn that mural into us. And then the next thing would be finalist incentives, rather. So typically when you have an artist come up with something site-specific, you want to make sure that you compensate them for the time and energy that they did to put that together. And so that will range anywhere from $250 to $500. Skipped ahead there. We're also looking at working with community initiatives like United Arts that help with monetary support for such projects. Again, they have their Arts in Towns grant that we're currently looking at. And also, I just want to remind you all, these are estimates and they are subject to change. So a couple continued next steps. The next thing we will do is adopt the UDO amendments and then issue the RFP. Parks and Rec's Cultural Resources Advisory Committee will then review those RFP submittals, and then the program, once we have those designs, you all will select the final design. Staff will also actively be working towards evaluating options for the future public art program, which includes, assigning long-term maintenance and management responsibilities of the program. I also want to highlight that you all will be getting updates within the news and notes section. So there we go. That kind of concludes all the information that I have for you all with an update, but if you have any questions for me, I will certainly do my best to address them.
Just do a point of order real quick. I want to give the opportunity to come forward and indicate if she thinks she might have. Looking for any questions on this item? We had a really good briefing recently. At the end of the briefing, there was also a Morrisville Community Park, the shelter there, in the bathroom. Is that not one of the three facing the playground there?
That wasn't selected as one of the top three. It was Fire Admin, MFAC, and Shiloh Park.
Possible in the future after this go around?
Yep, we can definitely put that on the list.
Just so I'm clear, so there might be more than one artist doing murals? It's not just one artist doing all three?
Yeah, so it can be one artist or multiple artists, one for each design. Also, we are looking at you can have a team of artists that will complete a design as well. So sometimes it's not done by one individual.
That's wonderful. Councilmember Rao, please.
You might have already mentioned this, but are the artists limited to like professional artists, or could it be like youth artists, younger artists living in our town that can be at least involved in the process?
I think that they could be involved in the process as part of an artist team, but one of the qualifications that we have in place is that there's someone that has done some work comparable to what we're asking them to complete.
Request for qualifications as
Yes.
well. That's very helpful. Any other questions on this item? So thank you very much for the presentation. Let's keep it rolling forward.
I know.
Looking forward to having some murals in town.
That's the plan.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Will Glenn, our Communications and Outreach Director, and Lynette Anderson, Marketing and Events Specialist, will facilitate the final presentation of the evening.
Good evening. Will Glenn, Communication and Outreach Director. We are about 2 months away now from our next Spring Fest event. Just wanted to come by and give you a nice update. I'm going to yield to our Marketing and Event Specialist, Ms. Lynette Anderson, to lead the presentation.
All right, thank you, Will. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Lynette Anderson, and I have the pleasure of talking to you all about Spring Fest. Spring Fest is one of our largest events here in the town of Morrisville. I have been planning Spring Fest for about 6 years. So it has done a little bit of more things. We have tried to grow it, we tried to add elements to it, but it is always something that the town looks forward to and everyone looks forward to. Thank you, Eric. Okay, so this year's event is going to be on Saturday, May the 13th from 4 to 8 p.m. We are looking at a new layout this year. We typically have Springfest right in front of our building on 100 Town Hall Drive, but we are looking to move the stage to the food hub and the healthy food hub this year and add some more interactive elements to it. We typically have our main music stage at the intersection of kind of Town Hall Drive and Indian Creek Trailhead. We normally have it there, but we're going to move it this year. We want to give the event a different feel than we do at July 3rd, and we also want to capitalize on the upcoming town center project and getting people interested in this area and getting more familiar with this end of Town Hall Drive. Our layout is, again, right in front of Town Hall Drive in the connector building. We have food trucks, about 8 food trucks already. We have a small business outreach component that's going to be in front of the chamber building. And then we also have the opportunity for our town to have department tables and tents right in front of the connector building. That's always been really, really helpful and really interactive. So all of our departments have the opportunity to come and set up tables to promote their programs and be in front of the public. Right now, we already have Parks and Rec, stormwater inspections and planning as a part of the town tents. So we look forward to adding more as the event goes along. We do have inflatable rides and games. As you may remember, we have tickets that are for sale as well. So our ticketing tables will be in front of the connector building, and we typically have 2 locations. And our games provider brings everything from inflatable slides to carnival games that you would find kind of at the fair. And he also has inflatables that he puts inside of Indian Creek. So all of that is full of inflatables for the day. If you can see on our layout, We have something that's called edutainment. So this is typically where the stage has been. And for this year, what I'm looking to do is trying to find more educational entertainment for our children's area. I like to call this the children's area. We are looking at getting more hands-on activities. We've contacted the library to see if they would be willing to come out and do some entertainment, because that is what we're looking for to fill this space. And we'll also have a DJ in this area too, because we want to bring, again, more sound and more music and more entertainment to this area because we are picking up the stage and moving it to a different location. We will, of course, have multiple porta-johns at the event. We are working to make sure that our shuttle locations have we're making sure that our shuttle locations have accurate pickup and drop-off locations. We typically shut the road down at the intersection of Morrisville Carpenter and at the traffic circle. We have shuttle buses that will run from Cedar Fork Community Center and drop off at the traffic circle. And we also have shuttle buses that drop off, pick up from the district park and drop off at the intersection of Town Hall Drive in Morrisville Carpenter. That is going to be a big help now that the construction is finished, because we actually have a huge intersection now that our buses can actually turn and make a U-turn and go back to the district park. And we, of course, are working with fire to make sure that we have one lane of traffic to go through the intersection, as well as help our bus make a loop and go back. So we're excited about that. We're also working internally to have police and fire and public works staff to help us throughout the day. I will say that SpringFest is one of those events that kind of touches all departments. We need inspections to help with our tent. We need Public Works to help on site with the gator. We need, and closing the roads down for barricades. So SpringFest is kind of me, but it's actually everybody that kind of helps me out for this event. So thank you guys for that for sure. And we've already had one meeting, and after this meeting and more discussions and more talks, we'll have another meeting just to finalize our layout and bring everybody together to make sure that we're all on the same page. One of the other components that we are again looking to add as a pilot this year is to add a bit of a beer garden to the event. We get asked most of the time during the event and afterwards on social media if we have beer or if there is a section for where people can listen to music and have a beer. And we've done research in local municipalities about other events that have beer, and they have been popular. But we also found that it's up to us to charge the vendor to come out, and every vendor that we spoke to, of course, doesn't have a problem. So it would be no cost to us, but we would ask the vendor to come and pay basically a rental fee to come and be a part of our event, because it's not so much of, we think that this is going to be a rock star event for them to make a ton of beer sales. It's basically kind of like a marketing opportunity for them. So we're paying, they would be paying us to come out and get their product in front of our audience. A couple of the events that I've looked at were Fest in the West, the Q-Grass Festival, and actually Lazy Days in Peak Fest. And again, it was just kind of trying to get an understanding of what other municipalities are doing and what they think. So I think that it would be a good add, and being as though this is the first year that we're trying this, again, it's not something that we think that we're going to make a ton of money off of, but we just want to see how it goes, see how the community feels about it, and then we'll process that and take it to other events maybe, or see how we go and how everyone feels about it. Oh, in addition to the beer garden, we will have it in a confined space. So we won't have it in a space where the kids are per se. It's going to be in that food hub area. And within the food hub area, we'll have a 20 by 20 space where we'll mark off that people can come in and out of, but they'll have to keep their beverage in that confined area, and they won't be able to come outside of it. So it's close enough to the music where they can stay in the confined area and listen, but not necessarily have to come out and interact or be around kids. We have a couple of different options for parking for the event, and it's not marked here, but we typically have handicap accessible parking here in Town Hall and at our Cedar Fork District Park location and at the school. So we'll have handicap parking at both locations, but we try to definitely have some here in Town Hall. And a lot of times people who need it, they'll just come and they'll ask one of the officers to let them in the lot or show a hang tag, and we can let them in that way. Guys have any other questions about any new elements or the new elements of SpringFest? And again, this is still a work in progress and we're still a couple of months out, so I don't have anything like the exact name of the band, but we're still looking to book bands and some entertainment for the day too.
Body, please.
Yeah, could you refresh my memory on what the tickets relate to that people buy?
So the tickets are for the actual games and the inflatables. So our rides vendor, he comes out and he provides those carnival style games, and they're normally one ticket and a $1 for one game. Past years, we've done about $3,000 in ticket sales.
I would really like it if there was some way that families, I mean, I know it's only a door, but I mean, back in the day, that would have been too much for my parents. And so I just, I would really like it if we could figure out some way that there could be either families could maybe come to town hall beforehand if they want and pick up a book of tickets. It doesn't have to be that much, you know, like 3 or 4 tickets, 10 tickets, something like that, where if there's a family that, you know, that wants to come, then I would like it if everybody had a chance to ride the ride, leave their face painted, or whatever the deal is. Just something, you know, I just think that's something we should always be thinking about. This is an amazing event. Everyone is going to want to come to it. And I just would like us making sure that every family is having the same experience.
Okay, thank you. I'll definitely write that down.
Councilmember Garamella, please.
Yeah, I think we all look forward for SpringFest. I had a question about the handicap parking. It would be good if we can have a sign because I don't want it to turn into like they come and the parking is full, so they don't know where to go, and that could create some kind of a parking spots they have, and so it would be good if we can give the early, you know, signups and give them the pass or something. That would be much better and more controlled than like if you open up, you know, you could get 20, 30, 40. So we don't know our capacity, so it would be like first in first. I think that's what carried us to like, you know.
Okay, I'll definitely write that down as well.
Question about the parking. Is it possible people will use the grassy lot over at First Baptist? Because a lot of times they do, whether or not we have arranged it or not. So we might want to get in front of that.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely get in front of it. We haven't typically done that in these past years. Maybe in year 1 or 2 we did, but we haven't. So we can make that a priority in our messaging that people should not park there for sure, because I don't think that we need it right now because we have a lot of parking at the district park, and we are trying to get more shuttle buses to run at this event and July 3rd so we can move more people quickly. So I think that that may help also. So we'll definitely put that in our marketing and messaging to not park in that lot.
Because we want to be good neighbors. And mentioned that the buses will be able to turn around easier, but also with the construction completed, there's sidewalks, so everyone can walk here, even from over at Morrisville Parkway and up at Savannah and everything. So I think we're going to have a lot more walking this time, which will really make it really nice. About the size of the 20 by 20, I think that it's going to be really popular.
Okay.
So, bigger or something, maybe having some picnic tables there or some seating. That'll be a very busy area.
Okay.
Don't want it to be overcrowded.
Okay.
Just to be clear, we're doing a rental fee, but then the vendor is charging people a la carte for their items.
That's right.
Cash or credit cards.
That would be correct. And again, we'll put that in our marketing and our messaging for the event. But again, it's not our key. That's not the main thing that we're going to try to sell at this event. But we'll have enough signage there, and we'll have it, on our website and on our marketing to make sure people know that it will be available.
And, this vendor that we've used for carnival games, they've always been really great, and they have a prize tent. I've always looked forward to those growing up, so it's going to be really great event. So thanks very much for taking the lead on it once again. I wasn't sure who was first over here. Councilmember Rao, followed by Councilmember Fender, please.
Yeah, just to follow up on the shuttles, just whatever I know at the last July 4th event, there were some people who were visiting in, and they said it just took a long time to get the shuttles. That was before the Morrisville Carpenter Road project was done, so there was concerns about, I saw our police really challenging people coming too close to the road, just so many people. So hopefully that won't be so bad because of the sidewalks, but whatever we can do to make sure that these shuttles are on schedule so that, because at the last July 4th, not Springfest, there were so many people coming that people were waiting a long time to get the shuttles. So that's just, hopefully we can address that.
Okay, yes. Definitely look to address that.
Councilmember Fender, please.
Yeah, I have a question about the beer garden. Will it be the vendor that's in charge of looking at IDs or?
Yes, it will be. It will be, and it will be the vendor who is going to be serving as well. So they have insurance and they will be liable for anything. So it won't be any of our staff that will be handling or checking IDs. And this is a company that is pretty reputable, and they've done other events before. So we feel comfortable with that.
Close to the police department if we have any.
Yes, yeah, we do, right in the backyard.
Else have any comments or questions before we? Councilmember Garamella, please.
Piggyback what you said, Mayor, regarding the parking lot there. I think if we tie up with the church, it's an opportunity. Charge money and let the cars come in, like $5. A lot of people who don't want to take a shuttle, but want to use something close by. There are like parking lots all across, they charge, not really, the state fair grounds, but all the other grounds they charge. So for us, I think as many cars as we can fit there, direct revenue that the church can take it. But also it's a convenience for us, for the residents, so that they can just walk, across the street. So I think it's a win-win for both if we can have that. If they take their money. A lot of people who are very.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely make a note of that.
I imagine you have a bit of a heavy lift because a lot of people are going to maybe be parking in neighborhoods and they shouldn't. So it's going to be a lot of communication and a lot of work. Morrisville Square is also nearby. People will probably park there despite signs saying no parking other than when you're shopping. As much as we can be a good neighbor for everybody, it's always a great thing. I had one last question. Can people bring their own beverages into the beverage area?
No.
I want to be really clear about that in advance so people can't bring their own.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. I can't wait. We wish it was sooner. But that's wonderful. Thanks you very much for all the work you've already done and all the work that you and the entire staff are going to be doing to make this another.
Great, thank you.
Time. We are at public address, which is item 10. Smith, is there anyone here in the audience who signed up, or did you get anything by email?
No, sir, there were no public comments received via email, and there were no individuals signed up to give in-person public comment.
Okay. Is there anyone here in the room who did want to make a public address comment for up to 3 minutes? Okay. Seeing none, it's a little early for a break, so we'll just go right into action items. There are 3 action items on this evening's agenda: a proposed amendment of the zoning map for Duke Energy, a town code of ordinance update, and a resolution and capital project ordinance amendment authorizing Phase 2B design build for Church Street Park's southern lot. Susie Russell, Plano 2, will facilitate the first item. Ms. Russell.
Good evening, Mayor Colley and members of Town Council. Eric, would you please bring up the photos? Thank you so much. Okay, so first I have a matter of housekeeping to report back to you all regarding the Duke substation site. So Duke has cleaned up the transmission corridor, and if you remember, that corridor runs adjacent to the homes on Gratiot. If you'll go through all 3, I think there's 3. Also, our code enforcement officer, Mr. Clarence Harris, he went out there today to make sure that this actually occurred, and it did. He did confirm that, and then also he will be following up with Duke Energy regarding maintenance. Okay, now on to matters for the closed public hearing. Excuse me.
Bird picture real quick, if there is one. A lot nicer, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Okay, so now on to matters for the closed public hearing. The applicant.
One second,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
sure.
What's the escalation path if, for Mr. Harris or for a resident, if that site is not cleaned up? Who are we asking them to call if the site doesn't stay in good repair, as Duke promised that it would?
So I'm not sure about that specifically. Martha, would you have something that you have in mind?
Yeah, we're actually going to, can you hear me? We're actually going to involve Mr. Harris to do some regular maintenance and have that be the contact person for Duke. And that's who neighbors would normally call as our code enforcement department anyways.
Sorry.
No, thank you. Okay, so the applicant submitted conditions. Those are found in your packet, and those would be under attachment 19 called revised zoning conditions. Also, those conditions reference the sketch plan. The sketch plan is found under attachment 20 called the revised sketch plan. Right now, I'm going to go over the changes that were made to those conditions. Okay, so we've got number 6, and the applicant added the words as depicted in the sketch plan. Condition number 8 was changed to condition number 11. And then 3 new conditions were added. Those were 8, 9, and 10. So condition 8 states additional supplemental vegetation screening in the form of southern wax myrtles and pampas grass or similar shall be provided on the east side of the parcel as depicted in the sketch plan. Revised zoning condition number 9 states that a gate made of a material compliant with the UDO will, right, I'll bring that up after I, unless you want to bring it up now, Eric, it's fine.
Page 2 of that, so people can read along.
So it'll be attachment. Actually, the next attachment. Yeah, thank you. Would you like me to start over, just so you're clear? So, So the condition 8 about the screening in the form of southern wax myrtles and pampas grass. Going to be right here and right here. And then we have revised zoning condition number 9, a gate made of material compliant with the UDO will be installed in the transmission right-of-way in the southeast corner of the property adjacent to Morrisville Carpenter Road. Down in this location. And then revised zoning condition number 10 states that the gate and fence at the entrance lot to the substation off Morrisville Carpenter Road will be replaced to be compliant with the UDO. And that is right at the entrance here. So these are the revised set that was submitted, and if Town Council has any questions of me, I'm happy to answer those now.
Council member have any questions for Ms. Russell or staff or the applicant at this time?
Thank you.
So I would like to make this motion. I find the proposed zoning map amendment to be consistent with the Town of Morrisville's comprehensive plan, and I hereby make a motion to approve with conditions ordinance 2022-438-0 of the Morrisville Town Council approving a zoning map amendment for 940 Morrisville Carpenter Road located along the north side of Morrisville Carpenter Road, east of its intersection with Leafy Creek Drive to the conditional low-density residential zoning district REZ-22-0010. Further, I find that the proposed zoning map amendment is reasonable, consistent with the comprehensive plan, and is in the public interest because A, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2021 land use plan, which identifies the subject property as institutional and includes utilities as preferred use. B, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the public interest and addresses a demonstrated community need for electric power. And C, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the intent of the Unified Development Ordinance because supplying the town with electric power meets the general purpose of the ordinance, which is to guide and manage the development of Morrisville in a way that takes into account present and future needs and resources. Would anyone like to second this motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 7-0. At this time, with the permission of my fellow council members, I would like to take this time to read a statement on behalf of the council regarding this item. Is everyone okay with that? Seeing some head nods? Okay. The Town Council wishes to thank all the engaged residents and community members who have helped guide us in deliberating on the rezoning request by Duke Energy for expansion of the existing Morrisville Carpenter Road substation, especially those most directly affected by this request. Your voices have been an important part of our deliberations and have been heard. This decision has been one of the toughest we have considered in many years. Our duty is to evaluate decisions in the light of what is best for the entire town while recognizing the different perspectives of various stakeholders in this process. Our decision was not made lightly. Since Duke Energy submitted this rezoning request, Town Council has been involved both individually and collectively in gaining an understanding of the electrical power needs, options, and issues and concerns of the nearby residents. Countless hours of meetings, calls with Duke Energy and residents, and substation tours have occurred to ensure we have listened and understood the challenges. Town Council has strongly advocated for consideration of options that take into account the concerns expressed by residents. This included ensuring that questions asked by residents have been addressed, and specifically that consideration of a southern lot expansion option be explored. Duke Energy indicated early in their process that they evaluated a southern option but proposed the northern option for a variety of factors, including design layout of the existing substation, the ability to reduce the tree loss and visibility of the site. Duke Energy reconsidered the southern lot at the request of our residents and town council, but have again indicated that is not a viable option. The timing of the project and impacts on the length of the design and permitting process, security concerns, and costs have all been cited as reasons for the northern expansion. Town Council has also recently become aware that the North Carolina Utilities Commission has the authority and could order construction on the northern side of the substation if Town Council voted against the expansion. The project could then be constructed without the benefit of the conditions Town Council and staff have negotiated to mitigate the impact on the surrounding area residents, which include additional opaque fence and tree buffers, as well as some aesthetic improvements to the site. Decisions about our community should remain in our control. As a result, Town Council has approved the rezoning request with these conditions as our best possible resolution of this needed expansion. We have made clear to Duke our concerns about the lack of communication about both the timing of the future power needs and the process for being included and involved in discussion of the issues and options. The town will closely monitor the construction of the substation expansion and care and maintenance of this site to ensure Duke Energy is the good neighbor and partner we expect them to be. Morrisville's growth, particularly in the life sciences sector, benefits all residents through the creation of jobs and growth of tax base that helps the town manage and control costs and fund the services we provide to our residents. This approval supports that growth for both our current and future residents and businesses. The Morrisville Carpenter Road substation is the first phase of meeting these current and future electrical power needs. The location and construction of an additional new substation is needed in the near future and may also have significant impacts on our community. Town Council will be fully engaged and informed in that process for us and for our stakeholders as this process gets underway. You are an important part of the town of Morrisville, and our work on your behalf will continue. This time, Brandon Zudema, Deputy Town Manager, will facilitate the next item on our agenda.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Thank you for your time tonight. Back for our third discussion of the town ordinances update. So just as a brief reminder, this is the review process and the focus on why we're doing this review. That includes making sure that our content is current and reflects practice and policy, always important in anything we do. Identifying missing content, any outdated or unneeded content. We updated all references to North Carolina General Statute as well as other chapters of the UDO and to our own ordinances. Some minor edits have been done, just some cleanup work. We've also been careful to go through all of our documents to ensure we have inclusive language, part of our continuing focus on DEI with our community, and then ensuring just consistent formatting throughout all of the documents. So based on our past two discussions, I had just a couple of items to bring back to you with a little follow-up. One is smoking and vaping. Again, a reminder quickly on what our current town ordinance is. It does prohibit smoking in town facilities and town vehicles. It does not prohibit tobacco use or vaping. And the current ordinance has some language that is no longer consistent with what is used by Wake County and in some cases, North Carolina General Statutes. The last time we talked, there was some question about whether or not there was already a state statute that outlawed the use of smoking or tobacco products in public. Just for clarification for you, this is 130A 496, which does prohibit it in restaurants and bars, but it does not prohibit it in other places. And then Chapter 143 has a specific reference to state buildings, but no ordinance generally relating to businesses other than bars and restaurants, just for clarification. Looking at the Wake County ordinance, again, that was updated last November. They expanded their language defining smoking, also expanded their smoking restrictions to additional county facilities and particularly to public places. So they now prohibit smoking, vaping, and tobacco use, similar to what we're proposing. They do not allow the use in any county facility or vehicle and not on county grounds. And it is not allowed in public places in unincorporated areas of the county. just some examples: banks, bowling alleys, gaming centers, grocery stores, movie theaters, all of those. And again, as we discussed last time, the majority of those owners, I think, prohibit that by choice, but now that choice doesn't exist as an option in the county in unincorporated areas. This is just a summary, if you're interested, of what the language is in theirs. I'm not going to take the time to read that to you. You've seen it in the packet, and we've discussed it previously. Again, very similar to what we're proposing. So you have a couple of options at this point. One would be to accept the updated ordinance as presented, and that would prohibit smoking, vaping, and tobacco use in our facilities, in our parks, and in vehicles. You could direct additional revisions to the smoking ordinance and address those revisions in the next round of updates coming later this year. Or if you chose to, you could direct changes now, and that would push back approval of this ordinance amendment packet to, I would say, at least March 28th. So I'm open to answer any questions you may have.
I have a quick question about the chart where there's the purple and the yellow. Would this match us to Rolesville in that will be purple all the way across?
This would match us to Rolesville except for government grounds the way it's written right now. We did prohibit in our buildings, facilities, and parks. Ours drafted as it is right now does not address just on the grounds.
Outside the buildings?
Correct. Correct.
That's the clarification I was looking for. Any other questions on this item? Without any other, oh yeah, Councilmember Garamella, followed by Councilmember Fender.
So, talking about government grounds, right, like the parking lot. So, my question is, we'll be having Spring Fest. So this allows them to smoke in the parking lot?
They would, under this, be allowed to smoke in the parking lot and, of course, in the street, which we don't typically control. We don't have the regulation of smoking in the street, to my knowledge. But yeah, it would allow for smoking on our town grounds that are close to or a part of the event.
So they can also smoke on public streets too, right?
Correct.
So in short, like when we have town events, I understand in normal circumstances they can smoke, but when it's a special use kind of a thing that we're doing, is there anything that we can put around it?
So we have control of that currently when we do things in our parks or on our own facilities. I think the challenge with something like Springfest or July 3rd is that you're mixing our property with the street and potentially with others. And again, as Town Green evolves and that becomes, sort of the more focal location, that'll address some of your concern, because we could certainly prohibit smoking within the town center, well, the Town Green in the town center, once we begin to transition events to there.
Councilmember Fender, please.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the government grounds. If we allow that, are there designated areas on the grounds that are smoking?
We don't currently have designated areas.
Yeah, I have an issue with that because, if someone or if a group of people go outside to smoke, and they could be just standing around the entrance of a building. And I don't want to have to walk through that to get into the building. And I've been in situations like that, and I don't think anyone should have to be subject to the smoke. I don't know what the options are with that. I think it's fine if you allow it on government grounds if there's a designated area away from doors that people would be going in and out of, or just ban it altogether. I would be in favor of that, to be just like Rolesville, because then you're eliminating the chance of cigarette butts all over the ground as well.
Yes, ma'am. So of the two, I would suggest if you want to consider one or the other, I would suggest not on grounds at all. I think creating smoking areas creates some of its own issues. So if you wanted to consider that, I would suggest you consider barring it from town-owned property, period. And we could certainly, if there's a a consensus around that, could modify the language that's in the ordinance now to simply expand it from in-town facilities, parks, and other areas to include on-park ground, or excuse me, on-town property.
My only, I'm highly in favor of doing that. My only concern is for our employees, like if there's police officers or people working in the fire station or staff, where would they go?
So you would, my expectation is that it would end up like if you drive over towards Raleigh and go past one of the healthcare facilities, they walk out onto the sidewalk off of the property of the hospital and smoke, and you would likely, for the few that I think we have do that, you would push people to the sidewalk.
So they could just go out on the sidewalk right here.
Off of town property, out onto the public.
Okay. I don't know how the other council members feel about that, but I'd be in favor of that option.
I'll weigh in. I'm very much in favor of totally off the grounds. I want to be really sensitive, though. I think a medium might be, I know that the convention center in Raleigh says like no smoking within 50 feet of any entrance. So that would be a way to avoid the issue of having to be exposed to smoke when you don't want to be, as a possible middle ground. Unless more people chime in, I think we're going forward to have it written. So members to weigh in if they wish. Member Garamella?
I think, like, I'm okay with the way it is for now, and if it gets bad, then we can come back and address it, because there are pros and cons for doing that, because we don't want our town staff standing on the street and smoking, so it can go both sides, and designation is not the right. If you do that, then they'll come up saying, why can't you have it in parks? Why can't you have it in other areas? So that opens up a different can of worms. So I think right now, we can see if it gets bad, like, then we can take the next step. But I think
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, please.
So I agree this is a step in the right direction, but I also agree with the middle ground. Why don't we say 50 feet from an entrance? And I don't think I want to see folks standing out on the sidewalk smoking either. And I think it will be hard to have a designated area. So I'm also okay. Aren't you coming back, Brandon, again with updates on this in the near future?
Not on these items. We expect to come back probably in, I would say, later this year, could be this summer potentially, with some other updates related to some parking issues that we're still doing some study work on.
Okay, sorry.
But if I may, if you wanted to address something that's different from what's in the draft ordinance, you could do that tonight. I believe and I'll let the town attorney correct me here, but when you make your motion, assuming you would do that, if you make a motion to adopt the ordinance, you could do that as amended, and I could give you the language in advance that I would add to that section in regards to 50 feet away from any entrance.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. Nods on the 50 feet from every entrance. Compromise after we hear from Councilmember Abadi.
How will we designate the 50 feet? Will it just be general knowledge, or will it be?
You'll have to have signs.
Sorry, that's what I'm asking.
We could certainly put some signage at the entrances to our building. I think generally people will self-comply with that. I don't think we need to necessarily mark a 50 feet. That's something we could do if we felt there was a developing issue. I think the initial would be to educate our staff particularly, and to add some signage outside of our doors.
Not making motion individually, we're going to
Correct. Do it all together, yeah.
No, sorry.
I think we're ready to move on to the next.
Okay. So if we approach it from that direction, again, here's that chart, and that would put us purple all the way across with the exception of the public places, in a sense, in that we would prohibit it to an extent on government grounds, so. Okay. Just very briefly, you have not heard this before, but needed to just do a quick clarification with you in doing sort of a final run-through on the ordinances. Recognize that we had one inconsistency we had not previously addressed. So our false alarm fines are included in the user fee schedule. And we don't normally do that with fines. We rely on the town ordinances to do that. But because this is applicable to so many people, and because we want to make sure that we're transparent, it's been included in the user fee schedule. What we realized is that this is what's in the user fee schedule on the bottom half of that, and it's basically an escalating fee. So essentially, the first 3 are freebies, and then from 4 to 5, you get a fee, and if it's 6 to 7, you get a higher fee, again, trying to deter the false alarms. But what we found is the current ordinance just references a single $100 civil penalty for false alarms. So that doesn't quite line up. So this is the current language on the top, the civil penalty that talks about a $100 civil penalty, which can be recovered by the town. So on the bottom of that page, you will see what we're recommending changing, which is just removing the $100 reference and adding a line that the civil penalty to be assessed is included in the town's user fee schedule that is adopted annually by town council as a part of the adopted operating budget.
Member Garamella, please.
So I wanted to be more specific. HOAs, like, did you consider that as like one of the 3s because you're renting it out? Any kid can pull the trigger of false alarm.
So those are generally, that goes back to the HOA or the owner of the building. So if you had 3 events with 3 different groups, that would be sort of the 3 freebies. And if it went off a 4th time, then that would become a false alarm penalty. The approach is to put the emphasis on the owner of the building to educate and inform and hold people responsible that are utilizing the facility. Because respectfully, who pulls the alarm doesn't change the response and the commitment of town resources to that.
Communicate this to all the rentals in Morrisville. Start creating who pays for it. The renter will obviously, like as an HOA, we'll try to push it to the person who did it because why should I pay it from the HOA?
And I understand what you're saying. I just also want to make sure that I'm clear that this is not a new table.
Absolutely
This is what's been in the user fee schedule, but we're just trying to clean up. But I understand what you're saying, and we actually have a new newsletter that's going out to our HOAs, so we can certainly inform in that and make contact with other folks we know might do
HOAs
rentals.
And any other rental, like, temples or like the other places that.
Yep.
Rental places are, just clear in their contract so that they have.
Yep. Thank you.
Clear, this is for commercial, residential, HOAs, apartments,
Anyone that has a police alarm.
also fire alarms?
Now, this is specifically related to police alarms. Fire alarms are covered separately in another ordinance.
Fire alarms.
Yeah, it sounds like
this
you're
is
talking about
specifically
firing
police
a
alarms,
fire
sorry.
alarm.
Fire alarms, yeah.
This is somebody, pulls the door when the alarm's on and it triggers. Or yeah.
Often, it's my understanding, like with ADT and Brink, they try to call the owner first before
Correct.
alerting the police.
Correct.
A little buffer in there before.
Typically, we're not, the town, the police department is not the first contact. We're typically like the 3rd.
About educating the public.
Correct.
About this. You guys have always done a really good job about that.
Yep.
Any other questions about this one? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we had talked about park use by organized groups. Again, appreciate your discussion and your feedback. So have updated that to change it from required to rent the field to reserve the field. Again, we need that ability to track use and to understand who's anticipating being there, but we will not charge a fee. We will simply ask them to reserve the field at the time that they want their event to occur. And again, this is just kind of showing you how we've made the update to the ordinance. So now it talks about obtaining the proper town facility rental reservation rather than a paid reservation, and then just clarifies that there could be other applicable permits, especially if it's a special event, or depending on if it involves a specific facility that's rented out, there could be a fee, but there won't be a fee related to just utilizing a field. I think that aligns with what you had asked us to address.
Sir, Councilmember Garamella.
Yeah, actually, that's good. The only thing I had a question is regarding resting the fields. Is the resting fields all at the same time, or like, suppose it's an organized group, and they want to book it for the year, so you tell them upfront, or I don't want to be in a way that all Morrisville grounds are resting.
Correct, no. No, it's on a rotating basis, and it's, because not every field is the same, depending on how it's constructed and where it exists with the water and all. So no, it is never like, no fields are open this weekend. It's one field might not be open on a given day.
And that we will advertise in paper as part of the schedule, like.
We will do our best, yes. And we'll have the ability to block out, those sections in the reservation system.
Absolutely.
Okay? Any other questions on that one?
Sure.
All right. You'd asked me to follow up a little bit on parking left side to curb. So again, here's the current ordinance, 58-95, no vehicle shall stop or park with its left side to the curb in any residential or commercial area, except that on one-way streets, vehicles shall stop headed in the direction of traffic. So again, that is largely a safety matter because you don't want somebody pulling off to the left. When they try to pull out, they're pulling into oncoming or having to cross over oncoming traffic. It's much safer to be on the right side of the street and pull into your own lane of travel. So I won't say I did. Our police department did some research and was kind enough to provide it to me. This is what the parking citations look like for 2021 and 22 calendar year. So total parking citations was 197 in 2020, 360 in 2021, and 365 in 2022. Obviously, well, I won't say obviously, the 2020 number is related to COVID. Just there wasn't as much enforcement and other things occurring. So each of those years, you can see the percentage of the citations for left side of curb versus the total. So in 2020, there was about 58% of citations issued for left of curb parking, 51% in 21, 44% in 22, for a 49% average of the citations that are issued. So our recommended version of Chapter 58 does not include a change to this section. I know there have been some question about when those being issued and why there's being issued. So the options I would propose to you, you can leave the ordinance as it is, and we would continue to prohibit parking left side to curb. You could request additional research by staff and include this in the next round of ordinance updates this year. Or you could direct changes now, and that would likely push back our approval to at least March 28th, similar to the last issue we discussed.
Councilmember Johnson, please, followed by Councilmember Garamella.
Thank you. I, for the most part, agree with the, parking on the proper side of the road. I think it helps with safety. It helps with our buses, school buses going along roads and so forth like that. I know there are some neighborhoods that have alleys, and that kind of is a challenge, finding proper parking. I would wonder, what is the second highest parking violation? Because you just gave us a chart that talked about specifically this issue, but is there a predominantly, other kind of violation that's popping up in the parking violations, so that just to educate us and make,
Sure.
The public aware as well?
So this is the predominant one, obviously, as you can see from the percentages, like it wins out. There is no sort of clear second, if you will. There are a number of different violations that get smaller percentages. And so some of those are, parking in a handicap zone, parking in a parking zone, parking too close to the curb, blocking a hydrant, any number of different violations that get enforced. Yeah, there's no clear, this is the second one. The other thing I would share is that this enforcement occurs across the town. So the police department was good in providing me a map of where it's done. And I think I counted 13 or 14 different communities or neighborhoods where this occurs in. So this is not focused in any one neighborhood. It's across the town. I mean, it's from north to south, east to west, and pretty evenly spread out based on population in any one of those neighborhoods. So this is not we're only going there to take care of it. It's across the town for safety concerns.
That's helpful. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Garamella, please.
Yeah, for me, I would say request additional research because my whole theory about this one is, if you look at it, it's almost like 50%. I understand the safety, I understand the need of it, but when our neighboring towns are not doing it, there might be a reason why they're not doing it either. Cary doesn't do it. Apex has only one area that they do it. And so I don't think Durham does it too. So, and we are such a mixed bag between Cary, Morrisville, and Durham side, and most of the times I'm seeing the people who are getting who are coming first time into Morrisville are not aware of it, and I've seen a lot of people appeal, and those appeals are all been rejected. None of them have been successful there. So, what are we achieving out of it? That's the key, where I feel like, yes, safety is one, but at the same time, it's a drain on MPD with this data that they had to go, police and give tickets and then, go through that whole purpose, so for me, it's like other towns are not doing, and you also showed North Carolina statute doesn't require that too.
Correct.
It's not mandatory in there. So I understand the safety, I understand everything, but when our neighboring towns are not doing it, why are we forcing it?
Well, so I think some of our neighbors are doing it. Again, I think that some have different levels of, and you saw that in an email I shared with you in regards to this. So there are different levels or different approaches to the enforcement. And again, looked at Cary and Apex. I have not looked at Durham. I know that Garner enforces this as an example. And again, the other thing that I would suggest is if you look at it, as you initially look at it, I think 160 may seem like a big number, but that's one citation every other day over the course of the year. And that's also spread out, again, over 13 or 14 neighborhoods. So you might get one ticket issued in your neighborhood a month, in any given neighborhood a month. There might be one citation issued over the course of those that leads to this 160-ish, every other day number. I hear what you're saying, but I think it is a safety concern. And in terms of the burden, sometimes these are occurring based on complaints. Sometimes these are occurring during just routine patrol. So I understand it could appear to be a burden. I think it's just part of their job responsibility. But understand its workload.
Yeah, and the other thing also, where when the ticket is given, they do not, I got several phone calls regarding this, and I know it is all across, it's not targeted to any neighborhood, and fairly so, is they do not know if their points are getting added to the insurance. And many a times I had to say, just go pay it. It is more town ordinance, and it's not going and hitting the DMV points or this kind of thing.
I think that's a good point. Parking tickets are not reported to DMV. This is a town parking ticket with a civil penalty. This does not impact insurance. This does not go on a driver's history.
Yeah, and so that is one of the major anxiety that people first get, oh my God, this is happening. And rest of the other ones, I'm 100% parking in front of fire hydrant, go give it. Near the curb, or, where, fire access is stalled, or blocking someone's driveway, 100%. But this is, for me, is I understand it, but is there some flex there? So that looking at almost 50% of the tickets are based on that.
Yes.
What is the middle ground? What can we do?
Okay. Councilmember Fender, please.
I just want to reiterate that Brandon said it's a safety issue. Parking on the wrong side of the road is a safety issue. And it's not something that is, I mean, it's pretty universal anywhere you go. I mean, I don't care if Town of Cary doesn't do it. It's pretty universal across the United States, in different states, different towns, that you don't park on the wrong side of the road. So for us to be like lax about that, you're introducing more risk of a kid riding his bike and getting run over. So I'm pretty against trying to change that ordinance. I know in my neighborhood right now, we already have so many issues with people parking in the wrong places, people speeding through our neighborhood, as the chief has heard me complain about before. To add one more additional risk in the mix is not something I want to see occur in our town. I'm very much opposed to changing that. There's a reason why that ordinance is there. And if it's an educational issue, then we need to do that. But it's not some anomaly. It's pretty universal. I'm done.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, please.
And remind me, what is the fine for this particular? I looked it up.
I'm going to have to look it up. I
That's fine, that's
apologize,
fine.
I don't know it off the top of my head.
It's minimal. It's
$50.
yeah, it's not $500.
Correct.
It's yeah. So and maybe we have done this before, and I've forgotten it or not seen it, but our police department is really fabulous at doing educational videos. Is this one that we can ask them to emphasize? And they've probably done one before.
I think we have the right person in the room to say we could make that happen. Chief? That was a yes.
Whenever it's appropriate. That might help to these folks that are, I realize that doesn't help for the people out of town because they're not clued into our social media and what we're doing in town. But, and then, and I'm okay with leaving this alone too.
Okay.
This has been in place longer than 2020 though, right?
Oh, yeah, this is just, I'm just giving you an example of the last 3 years. Now, this has been in place for a while.
It has, right, okay. I'm fine. I think I would be open to seeing some of this data as we move through in the next 6 months, 12 months, whatever, and see if these numbers grow or not.
Sure.
Because they seem, I'm not sure these 3 years don't give me a whole lot of, yeah, maybe they do. It is like 50%, but you know, they kind of go up and down. So maybe that'll change over time too, so.
Good.
I too am in favor of just leaving it as is. If you want to bring back some more information about what the other ones are, just out of curiosity would be good. One thing that the police department has done in the past is they had a Don't Get Noticed campaign when people left their garage doors open and things like that. So, and when Chief Andrews brought this forward the first time, there was a couple of months of education. Maybe periodically we can go through that again with a video, maybe instead of a ticket, put something on their windshield saying, this is something. And just do more educational, especially if you have visitors, to go ahead and make sure that our residents tell our visitors, oh, you really shouldn't park that way. When I have contractors come over, I tell them so that they don't get a ticket. So it's about the education and trying to help people along.
Yeah, I agree with the education. I think the other thing you'll see is if we step up that education, you'll see fewer and fewer people do it. And the less that people see others doing it, they'll maybe recognize that, oh, wait a minute, nobody else is parked like this. Maybe I'm not supposed to.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson?
So just along those lines, the education, you mentioned the HOA newsletter. This might be one of those topics to reinforce with our HOAs so that they can share it with their neighborhoods too.
Will is nodding his head in the back, so absolutely.
Bring us back some more information, which is one of the options.
Sure. I'll provide you with that. Maybe even outside of the meetings, you can process that and we can discuss it if you feel we need to.
That'd probably be okay. Okay.
Yeah, my thing is, I understand the safety, but if it was mandatory, why did North Carolina not do it? You know, as a mandatory thing. Why are only certain towns doing it?
Understand.
So, like, the general rule is if you park in front of the fire hydrant, that is universal all across. So why is this not mandated? And why towns are picking up on certain things? So that's, the confusion is what it is like when people come and go.
Okay, thank you. All right. So that was our last sort of follow-up item. So just sort of want to remind you of what highlight what some of the changes are that you're being asked to approve tonight. So we changed alcohol in parks being part of our special event process. You have designated political activity to be allowed in parks, but no political campaigning. We have talked about organized groups required to reserve a field, not rent, but reserve a field for use of open park space. Parades are now part of the special event process, while group demonstrations and picket lines are handled by the police department. Smoking, including vaping and other tobacco, is restricted in town parks and also within now 50 feet of an entrance to a town facility. Commercial vehicle parking has been restricted on main thoroughfares on a case-by-case basis, but commercial vehicle parking has been restricted on all town streets. And I'm happy to answer any other questions there might be based on any of that.
Myself?
The previous slide one, like, especially the commercial vehicles, how will you do the education for that? Because might be out of state, like those licenses, they park anywhere they come and they do. So
the commercial parking on main thoroughfares is pretty straightforward because it's all being marked as no parking. So that's sort of a no-brainer. There's, for example, across from the plaza there near Food Lion, that was clearly marked as no parking. That seems to have addressed those issues. So that sort of takes care of on the main thoroughfares. For the parking on all town streets, there'll be an educational effort by the police department. There's several things we're going to be talking about. Again, we'll also push that out to HOAs and remind them of that. And I think I can safely say we'll have an education period before we start enforcing that.
no, that's good because we want to be fair. Like
Correct.
And tell them.
Yep. Thank you.
I just had a quick follow-up on the smoking. Would that be staff's recommendation, or what do you think would be the appropriate distance?
I mean, I think that's a reasonable distance to ensure that, you're far enough away that if someone doesn't want to be near you, they can find a way to the door by themselves. I have nothing else for you.
Any other questions? Okay. I'd entertain a motion to adopt this.
Mayor, if I could, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just remember that you also want to indicate that you're also acknowledging the 50 feet within a door for town grounds as a part of this. It's not listed there. I apologize. I didn't have that prior.
Right, exactly. So read
Thank you.
this and add that at the end.
Correct.
Anyone like to make that motion?
Okay,
Councilmember Garamella.
I put a motion and to adopt ordinance 2023-060, the Morrisville Town Council amending the table of contents and chapter 1, 2, 10, 14, 18, 22, 26, 30, 34, 38, 46, 50, 54, 56, 58, 66, and 67 of the Morrisville Code of Ordinance and adding chapter 3 of the Morrisville Town Code of Ordinance, including the smoking 50 feet away from government offices.
I'll second.
In a second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, it is 7:42. It's time for a break. So we're going to take 15 minutes and reconvene. Coming back into order, at this time I'd like to recognize Mark Spagnoli, Director of Engineering. He will facilitate our final action item of the evening.
Evening, Mayor, council members. For the record, Mark Spagnoli, Director of Engineering. Tonight we have an update and a brief for the Church Street Park South Lot project. Saving the best for last this evening. Just a little bit of background. In December 2021, the town entered into a development and use agreement with Major League Cricket folks in preparation for the hosting of cricket sport events at the Church Street Parks, the North Lot, and improvements to the South Lot. In April of 2022, the town passed a resolution authorizing us to enter into an agreement for design build delivery of this type of project. In July of the same year, we passed a resolution authorizing meter construction to start the phase 1 of the design build, which is the design phase of the project for not to exceed $200,000. And in December of 2022, the town passed a resolution authorizing meter construction to continue on with the project and commence 2A for up to $1 million to get started with portions of the project, which include the parking lot, the practice pitches, site work, and associated infrastructure. All right, here's a current overview of our project, just to go over some of the details. To the top part of the page is our existing cricket field, and actually you can see some of the proposed improvements on the back side of the field. You have some of the new bleachers and so forth, but honing in onto the south lot itself, you've got 2 volleyball courts proposed, sand volleyball, 1 multi-sport court in between the volleyball and the practice pitches. You've got 6 practice pitches proposed, 2 basketball courts, a restroom building with a shelter that provides for 18 picnic tables, the parking lot and all the associated sidewalks, walkways, underground utilities, and the stormwater control measure on the very left-hand side of the screen. So I just wanted to go over a little bit about our phasing. When we did come to you in December with our Phase 2A, this was to get the Phase 2A started. This was to get some of the work commenced so we can try to keep on schedule for our July deadline to have all this completed. And this shows kind of a breakdown of the two, but I did want to emphasize that the $1 million at this point gets us started with Phase 2A, but we would have to allocate some more funds to complete the rest of the practice pitches, parking lot, and then the overall project obviously would be the Phase 2B and everything else associated with the program of the project. So here you can see the kind of the general breakdown of that. So on project status, Phase 2A is under construction. We started some construction surveying and utility locates. You'll start to see some real hard physical construction in the upcoming days. Phase 2B is in the final permitting stages and has been bid by the design build team. And again, Phase 2B includes the remainder of the work required to complete the parking lot, the practice pitches, as well as all the programming for the park. And we have a total project cost based on the complete design now, so we're going to go over that momentarily. So just a quick refresher, at the end of 2021, we did pass the capital project ordinance for this project. It did have allocations for both what I'll call the north lot, where we're doing the amenity expansion, as well as the south lot. And if you break down the south lot, you had approximately $200,000 designated for design and $2,050,000 designated for construction. That was the budget that was set back in the end of 2021. So based on our current plans and design build bid results, we have a total cost for Phase 2A at $2 million. Our Phase 2B is at $2.5 million, bringing the total project cost to $4.5 million to provide the entire program for the south lot. And we'll get into some of the details now in a minute. So just comparing where we were from a budgetary standpoint, back at the end of 2021, like I said earlier, we had allocated $2,050,000 for the construction phase. Our current bid results are coming in at $4.5 million, so we have a budget shortfall of almost $2.5 million. Just to go over some of the general project cost breakdown and details, and these are sort of order of magnitude. There are a lot more detailed breakdown in our actual bid results, but just to kind of summarize it in larger numbers, this gives you a general feel and thought of how much things cost. The parking lot's about $300,000. The practice pitches are $600,000. Sidewalks at $275,000. The restroom shelter building is at $725,000. Your electrical and sport court lighting, which is the Musco highlights, are $450,000. Your site clearing and grading, 300,000. Your various sports courts, site work and walkways are a little over $1 million. Your construction administration, overhead and profits at 650,000. Then your other insurance, bonds, and contingency adds up to about just under 200,000. So since my last update in December, we've had some project cost impacts that we wanted to talk about a little bit here. The design was still evolving at that time to try to finish up all the programming needs and amenities that were required for the park. So the practice pitches were expanded to meet the needs of Major League Cricket. We had to continue doing research along the way, and we determined that larger pitches would be required. The location of the practice pitches was swapped with the location of the shelter building. This allowed for the expansion of the practice pitches, but also required some additional land grading and work on the ground. We extended the restroom building to accommodate additional storage and also accommodate an 18-table shelter area, covered shelter area. We added some double doors to the courts. We added a considerable amount of heavy-duty grass paver from the shelter to the basketball court to support vehicles traveling through the property. There was also extensive use of heavy-duty concrete to support vehicles to pass in and out of the property on the concrete walkways. And back in December, when I did come to the council, the design build team had not fully vetted the design, and we were still working on some design details. So the estimate was not. We have had some of the same market factor cost issues that we had at Fire Station 3. As you know, we did do the original budget back in October of 2021, so that was some time ago. You've had material, labor, and fuel cost escalations. The escalations have continued to increase from October of 2021 to now. We do have some reports from Associated General Contractors, which is a press release that comes out that validates some of these cost increases nationwide. And we did still, throughout the design, conduct value engineering exercises, and without compromising the program requirements, we were able to value engineer out $250,000 of cost. And Jeannie made sure that I should say this out loud, that these project overages, if they're approved, will impact alignment of resources to our capital improvement project update. All right. Moving into project schedule. We anticipate finishing the Phase 2A construction in July in accordance with our agreement. Phase 2B contract award, if everything goes as planned, would be scheduled for April of 2023, and will be completed with the entire project in the winter of this year. So we're moving along at a good pace. So our recommendation is to proceed with the remainder of the construction of the Total South Lot Park program by awarding the construction contract and approving the capital project ordinance amendment as submitted in your package. So, questions you may have.
Councilmember Garamella, please, followed by Councilmember Rabati.
Thanks, Mark, for the presentation. Can you go back the slide where there's a change of scope? Yeah. So when I read this, like practice pitches were expanded to meet the needs of Major League Cricket, from a half pitch to a full pitch, right?
I'm not that familiar with half and full, but it went from a certain length to a longer length. It may have been considered half and full. I'm not that
Usually
familiar.
it's half and full, like,
Okay.
22 yards and so was that in the MOU when they started that, like, half or full, were they not clear? Because is it a mission creep? That's where I'm coming down to.
So I'd have to go back and verify the exact language. I know it talks about practice pitches that would support the Major League Cricket, but whether it said half or full, I don't remember.
Usually practice pitches all across the world are only half. That's pretty much the de facto, that they do. So the reason I ask that is like, and if you go back one slide with the cost, what I'm trying to see is what was our commitment to, and our commitment to ACE was parking lot and the pitches, right? And the rest all are what we as a council wanted as additional things.
Correct.
So I have no issues with the additional things that we, wanted, because that is to make it multi-purpose and for other people. Sure. The concern I have is ACE put 1.25 million. They did value engineering to fit their budget. They didn't go over and beyond their 1.25.
So just a minor correction there. When the final bids came in for the amenity expansion project, their contribution ended up being more than 1.25 million. I want to say it was about 1.35, but I don't have the exact number.
100,000.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah, it ended up being a little bit more, just for an offer.
So the thing is, for us, it's like committed to something. Are we in that budget? I want to, like, ensure that we are. I don't want to go higher than what we have promised them because they're not going either. So the rest of the other things, I'm totally fine because those are our amenities for our people and they will enjoy that. But, and how can we basically put indirect, I want to say, like, what is an MOU? Like, so that this is what we said and this is more. So now how do we go about it?
Yeah, so the MOU was, my recollection was somewhat generic. It spoke about the practice pitches in the parking lot. There was a site plan that was included, that was amended on one of the updates that we did a few months ago. So we actually, at that time, we actually reduced the number of parking. The original site plan had a certain amount of parking. I think it was 90-something. We went down to 60. That was accepted by ACE. On the practice pitches side, it was just a generic drawing that showed it like a rectangle. It didn't specify.
Yeah, and I hear that. So my main concern is, like, they have also gone down in there, like, because the press release said 2,000 or something, and now they're doing only 1,300. So I think, I don't want to get shortchanged, as simple as I can say, like, I want a fair and equal, that what are they doing? Because for us, it's an overhead cost, and how is, like, I don't see a 20% increase on their side, because you're saying it's less than, 100,000 is 10% compared to ours, like 25% that we put as an overhead cost. So can we push them to add more on their side? Because they promised something, but they're value engineered on theirs to give us only 30.
I'm sure we can. I think the administration would be happy to ask the ACE to contribute more. And we can certainly take that back.
We're paying, like triple their cost, and then we're locked in for 10 years.
Good. Understood.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, followed by Councilmember Rabati, please.
Thank you. This is kind of doubling the price of what our original estimate was last year. Shocking, but not unexpected with all the increases in prices. The practice pitch, if that is double what we originally estimated, that I agree with Councilmember Garamella, that is an unanticipated requirement, and it should be renegotiated as far as how that is supported by each of the parties. So I think that in and of itself is one example of where requirements did change, and therefore we should renegotiate that. I was happy to see the timeline included the full scope of the project by the end of this year. My concern is with the doubling of the cost, providing our own town residents the amenities that we were careful about providing to them with the courts and the multi-use, as we're building this and other support for the cricket. Could you explain a little bit about why we are reinforcing the courts and some of the areas for not just parking perhaps, but are you reinforcing them in the basketball courts or in the walkways so they can have food trucks, or?
It's primarily for maintenance access, not only for public works, but also for it's a combination of Public Works having to be able to get to all these areas of the park in vehicles. And then there is some of the uses for ACE near the parking lot and the practice pitches, getting vehicles in and out of there for special events. So it is a combination.
Where the money's coming from, you know, is this an ARPA eligible project, or is this general fund, or is this a what are the options?
Give an answer you know.
I think she might.
I know there's a CPOA in the back, but I'm not sure if it's detailed enough to give that.
Yeah.
I purposely said on before the.
Yeah, I think you did.
So primarily, the funds are coming from Parkland Payment in lieu, but that will impact other projects that were estimated in your CIP, your current existing CIP, primarily the Church Street, Crabtree Creek Nature Park. So we'll have to realign that as part of this next update, rebalance those funding sources potentially. And the other small pieces coming from it is we had some bond premium that was available that we were able to pull, but primarily it's Parkland Payment in lieu.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Councilmember Rabati, please.
So it's not actually clear to me that it was ACE that told us that we needed to double the size of the practice pitches. How exactly was that determined?
So it just to be clear, it didn't double in size. It grew by about 30%. I mean, I guess an engineer in me, I can't help but to at least get the number right. But it was a combination of ACE promoting that because they bring some experience from outside that we don't, and then we went and actually confirmed our Parks Department, checked with some of the other places like in Texas and stuff that they're developing these fields to try to get information whether it made sense to put the bigger pitch or not. I don't know enough about the sport, I'll be honest, so I don't have a lot of those details, but I would say ACE was probably in the front seat of making that request, and then we kind of worked together to figure out if it made sense for our project, if we're going to promote Major League Cricket at the space.
Okay, and then were there design costs associated with swapping the restroom building and the pitches to accommodate the larger pitches?
There is a request for a small amount of design increase costs, but it's for the property in general because we made a lot of adjustments, not just that.
Okay, so speaking of the other adjustments, where did the request for an 18-table picnic shelter come from? That is a huge picnic table shelter.
So that came from the Parks Department as part of their programming. It's becoming, I guess, more commonplace to have shelters with the picnic tables, similar to the shelter we have at Morrisville Community Park. Apparently, those are well reserved and well used. So there was a request and a desire to have that shelter space. I don't know, I'm not into the park side of it, so I don't know all the details of that, but there was a request from the parks for that.
So what was the difference in cost between the original planned restroom and shelter and the current 18 picnic table shelter?
If my memory doesn't fail me, the original cost estimate for the building was half as much.
Okay. I 100% agree with Councilmember Garamella that any changes that were instituted by ACE that were not part of the original design, I think they should pay for. I'm not sure what to say about this. This thing has doubled in cost. I understand market conditions, but we literally cannot afford to do one thing that's not in that contract.
I understand.
I mean, I think this is pretty appalling, actually. And there's nothing else on this list. Okay, so the picnic table came from Parks and Rec. I get that. The pitches, I mean, there's nothing else really on this list that we can conceivably do without. Is that correct?
If you want to maintain the programming as displayed in the site plan, No, you could not. At this point, part of the value engineering we did was we looked at every detail we could, and it's harder with courts. Like if you have a building, you can change finishes and try to like cut costs there, but with like sport courts, there's not a lot of cutting. It's a concrete slab, and you put your surfacing on it. There isn't a lot of like options for it to be to work. So we went in and tried to make adjustments everywhere we could to reduce costs here at this property.
And is there, I'm sorry, the cost breakdown, is there a breakdown, are the courts broken out in these, in the,
I don't have it with me on the slides, but we do have this is like a very abridged version of a very lengthy
yeah, no, I'm
process.
sure. I mean, I hate to even float this balloon, but I feel like we're there. Like, it's a shame because what the people that actually live here are getting out of this is the courts and and those amenities. But I mean, should we look at maybe not doing the sport court? I mean, does that get us any kind of return? I mean, I don't love it either, but okay. All right, I guess that's everything. It doesn't look like there's anything much to do about it. Okay, thank you.
I'll go, followed by Councilmember Rao. I guess on this slide, separate question, where it says pitches,
yes.
What is that large blank space?
Right of the pitches?
Where it says pitches?
Oh, the actual word pitch? It's green area.
That's a nice green space?
Yes.
And the picnic tables, how does that compare to the Morrisville Community Park Shelter? Do we have 18 there? Comparable size? Might be bigger.
I don't know how many there are. There are a lot of tables there because does anybody know how many tables are there? I mean,
about the same.
It might be about the same, 9 and 9.
Really nice.
There's a lot of tables there, yeah.
So just to refresh a little bit, I thought one of the attractions of design build was you lock in a price. But it sounds like what you're saying in 21, sort of locked something in, but then we changed it and things changed.
No,
Got a lock in.
So the lock-in happens when the design is completed. So once the design is completed, then, because it's at the point where we entered into the original agreement with them, all we had was a budget estimate that we developed. So you can't lock in the guaranteed maximum price until you've got the design. So what that means for us is if we lock in this price, there won't be change orders along the way. On a conventional project, you get your base bid, and then you could still have various change orders that happen throughout the process of construction. But once you lock in this price, this is what they've got to build the project with this programming, even if it costs them twice as much.
So are we in the position that we can only lock 2A now, or can we lock 2A and 2B?
We're in a position with the information we have from the contractor to lock in both when we're ready, if we're ready to do that.
Important thing to think about. One, on the pricing slide, it said sport court lighting. All the courts, including the sand volleyball, are going to be lit, or just the sport
Yes,
court?
all the courts.
Okay, so let's be really clear about that.
This is for all the courts, yes.
Only the sport court getting?
I'm sorry, yeah, I didn't mean to, all the courts, yeah, that's
Trying to be clear.
no, that's a good point. Yeah, it does.
What expectations? Are the pitches lit, sir?
Yes.
And the cost, what you're saying is pitch cost, lighting in?
Yes.
Or is it separate item like that?
No, the pitches have their own lighting, netting, fencing.
Those were my questions. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Councilmember Rao, followed by Mark Tom Johnson.
Just with the, I just want to clarify that by the end of the project, the 2 basketball courts will be completed, right?
Yes.
2 basketball courts, okay. All right.
What you see in this slide here. Even though I wrote basketball, 2 basketball courts, 2 sand volleyball, 1 multi-sport court, the restroom, shelter building, practice pitches, parking lot, and associated infrastructure, utilities, and.
Okay, and then we've renovated our Shiloh basketball court, so we'll have 3.
That's going to be, right, that project's actually out to bid now.
Okay, great. And the multi-sport could be, are those where you could just do different sports on there, right?
That's right. It'll have markings for various sports, including, I think yes, I think basketball is included as a third.
Okay.
Variable court.
Thank you.
Johnson, followed by Councilmember Fender.
So I'm going to echo Councilmember Rabati's comments. Yeah, this is a lot of money, but not, as Councilmember Scroggins Johnson said, not surprising because costs are going up. Everything is going up. And I look at this too and try to figure out, okay, what could we maybe phase in or take out? And the only thing that I would question is the sand volleyball, but that probably is minuscule compared to everything else.
It
So
is, actually,
it
yeah.
doesn't make sense to take that out. Because all the other amenities are needed. And I'm also going to echo the comments from Councilmember Garamella about if there were changes requested by ACE, then they need to help cover these costs, the total costs. So I'm fine with that, with you all going back and pushing back on that.
Made a note of that.
Yeah, and then I guess the only other question I have then is maybe for Jeannie, with the money coming from PIL, where does this leave our PIL fund? And then what is our projection? Because we know there are some projects, and I know this is just a projection. I know there are some projects coming in the near future. What is the projection for some of that being replenished as well?
So we've looked at that. So we have about 5 million for parkland payment in lieu. So this will drop it down to about half. You needed more than 4 million for Crabtree Creek Nature Park. I think it's like closer to 5-ish. That's the next project that we had swapped the allocation of bond money to move to Town Green with the parkland payment in lieu funding the Crabtree Creek Nature Park in the near future. So we'll have to resolve that problem, and that'll be a part of our update with the CIP. So with that said, looking ahead at what's in the future, we can only speculate based on the project conversations out there that we have about potentially in 24, 900 is what we're estimating possibly to come in. There are some projects that we're working to finish. They're active projects right now that we're trying to close out. There might be funds that we could also send back to PIL to replenish. That it's not going to be all of it, but at least puts us in the right direction. So that's our strategy. That's what we have to work with right now as we work with updating the CIP. And it's not a ARPA eligible project for the way in which we bid this project for Church Street. So that's why we didn't use ARPA.
Yeah, this idea of locking in is, I think, important. I don't anticipate anything coming down in price. It just seems like everything is continuing to escalate phenomenally. So those were all my questions for now.
Councilmember Fender, please.
I have a couple of questions regarding the heavy-duty grass paver.
Yes.
And heavy-duty concrete increased number of walkways for vehicle support. Can you talk a little bit more about that and why that wasn't included originally?
That's a good question. I think when we did our initial estimate back at the end of 2021, it was a very preliminary site plan, so we were just laying out spaces. I don't think we would have anticipated that necessarily, maybe I don't want to say it's an oversight on our part, but when you're looking at it from just a preliminary site plan, you see it as 5-foot wide concrete, and you're not always thinking at a preliminary level of what kind of concrete you're looking at and what kind of operating function the property will have. So that may have been overlooked at that time. And then at this point, it's been a collaboration of our parks, public works, and the ACE folks to accommodate the various uses and operations and how we would need those spaces to function. So we had to add some of that heavy duty concrete and grass pavement, stuff like that. So. Without cutting programming, I don't think so. I mean, we've spent a lot of time with this. You know, like I mentioned earlier, you know, our parking lot is, you know, is asphalt. Everything we're using for stormwater infrastructure, we're using HDP pipe instead of concrete on some of the underground stuff. Courts are concrete and asphalt. I mean, there really isn't a lot of like, it's not marble and granite and porcelain tile. I mean, it's just, you don't have those flexibility when you're doing basic sport courts and that thing. You know, maybe like some of you mentioned, maybe the shelter building could have been smaller, that kind of thing.
But my question was more specific just to the heavy-duty concrete.
Oh. We actually did make some changes, actually, since you mentioned that. The central, I'll call it the central walkway that kind of goes from the parking lot all the way to the volleyball and ends in a circle. That used to be heavy-duty concrete. We swapped it out to asphalt. So we did make some of those adjustments along the way. Because the asphalt, heavy-duty asphalt could support the truckloads, and it was cheaper than concrete. So we made some of those adjustments, as well as between the practice pitches and the grandstands, that used to all be heavy-duty concrete, and we modified a lot of that to just be walkways. And actually, it's not pictured here very well, but a large portion of that is just grass. It's open area.
I guess my only other thought would be, for me, if there was anything we could do later, I would choose the multi-sport court. That was an option. I would like to see us still include the basketball courts and volleyball courts, because as Councilmember Garamella saying that that's the extra amenities for our residents that more people can use. That would still give the benefit of having volleyball and basketball added amenities.
Had an opportunity to ask questions and make comments. We're going to do a second round for anyone who wishes. Councilmember Garamella?
I think from my recollection, the heavy-duty concrete is because we have seen last time when ACE for broadcast and others. So that could be one of the things, like, because if you put a regular, you know, that could be one of the reasons. But my main question is, okay, we see the cost. Obviously, we go back to ACE. But how do we program these amenities? Or is it like, you know, the practice pitches are going to be free to the public, or are we going to charge? Because these are heavy, hefty fees that we are paying to do it. How do you program this into our Parks and Recs reservation type? You know, that is my main question. And how do we monetize in concept? When I say monetize, at least not to the level like, you know, to recoup the cost, but at least how do we put a sanity to it? It's not like first come, first serve. Everyone will be doing, you know, basketball, like, you know, go at 3 o'clock and so how do you put the sanity around it and also have kind of a programming where they do online, you know, booking, like we talked about for other things?
I'll take that back to the Parks Department. I'm not that clear on the function of that. I don't know if anybody else is, but that certainly, to me, is an option, certainly for the practice pitches. They are, if they get built this way, I want to say they're state-of-the-art. We are putting, they look great in some of our renderings. You know, some of them are artificial turf. I mean, there's a lot going on with those, so I could see that could potentially be an option, but I don't want to speak for the Parks Department on.
So I think you recognize that our practice up to this point has not been to charge for that type of amenity. You know, we have done some work. I keep saying I've not done it. Our staff has done some work. You know, particularly relevant would be the batting cages at Shiloh. At one point, we were having some pushback about them being sort of reserved all the time by TCL. And this is just an example. This is not to be critical of TCL. But staff was able to work with them, sort of clarify what the expectations were, clarify that it was not sort of a reserved use, but it was a shared use. So I think we have the same opportunity to do that, particularly as we open a new facility. Now, again, these practice pitches may be a little bit different because they will have to be reserved when ACE is here with particularly major and minor league cricket. That's, again, part of the attraction of bringing those teams is having a place to practice, particularly if they're in like a multi-team tournament or the playoffs or things like that. So I think we are best to start addressing it that way rather than necessarily trying to get a fee out of it. And again, we can always circle back on that later if it's an issue.
So the reason I ask that is because I don't want it to be like practice pitches is where practice. So if they are charging revenue, I don't want our grounds to be a freebie. Basically, you're coming on a 600,000 practice pitch and for their own coaching. So, what is it for the town? Because we have to make sure it's up to the mark. And it's obviously it's not a blanket TCO, I want it to be open so that people have the opportunity to play, not just a group, as you rightly said, from shallow, the batting cages and those kind of things. So those all issues will come very quickly here. And the same thing with the volleyball courts. I can see if you don't have a reservation, the way Kerry, I used to play a lot of volleyball at Greenhope. You have to reserve them, You can, if it is not reserved, yeah, it's a free play. Otherwise, you got to reserve and we pay money for that.
Yes, sir.
So something has to be done. Otherwise, I agree, why are we having, 16, 18 how are we, just have across the street, one more shelter. So it's just next to each other. That's valuable money there, or you can have it, the shelter somewhere else,
So I would say that the shelter is an opportunity for revenue. That would be consistent with the way we deal with the others. So that is certainly a revenue opportunity. I think the practice pitches are unique, and we'll deal with those to make sure that remains a shared use. And then addressing any of the others would be, more of a change in philosophy that we just need to look at and consider.
Absolutely, because there's a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, you play tennis more, there is, you book on, you have to book, so there's inconsistency right there, between outdoor parks, tennis courts. So we need to have some kind of consistency here, otherwise it will be a lot of issues. We don't want more complaints. We need people come and enjoy, and everyone gets some equal chance, and not like a party that is using 24/7.
Staff shares your goals.
So this is an item which is evolving, and as it goes operational, and we'll make things happen. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson?
So, Mark, we just talked about a couple of things we wanted to get more information on. What kind of time frame are we looking at for a decision on this? How critical is this to make a decision in the next 2 weeks?
So, right, our goal was to bring it back for action at the next council meeting. We will work very hard to get all these answers answered so that we can come back with answers as part of the action, I guess. I think we can do that. We talk to ACE daily, almost, because we're trying to move this along quickly. So getting to them and getting that information together can be done relatively quickly.
So I don't see any other questions, but yeah, to close this out, the expectation is that we'll be voting on this on the 28th. So thank you very much for all the work that you've been doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, at this time we are at item 12, future meetings, events, and citizen involvement opportunities. You've heard me say it before, but the Western Wake Farmers Market offers healthy and fresh food and goods from small and local businesses. They're still operating under the winter hours from 9:30 a.m. to 12 noon every Saturday. Lots of good events. If you're 55 plus, please visit the Morrisville Senior Center on Davis Drive for our St. Day luncheon this Friday, March 17th from 1 till 3 p.m. Visit old friends and make some new ones as you enjoy a delicious catered lunch of traditional Irish foods. Don't forget to wear your favorite St. Patrick's Day accessory, and you'll have to pre-register for that one, please. Residents are invited to recycle household items at Green Day event on March 18th, which is this Saturday from 8 a.m. till noon at Church Street Park. Drive-through stations will be set up to accept items for recycling that cannot be placed in residential recycling bins, for safely disposing of hazardous items, and for donating needed items to community groups. Stations will include textile recycling, laptop donation, paper shredding, medication take-back, e-recycling, batteries and CFLs, and a collection of fats, oils, and greases, or FOGs. For more information, please visit our website. Also, please save the date. Join us on Saturday, March 18th from noon until 3 p.m. at Cedar Fork Community Center as we celebrate Holi, the ancient Hindu festival marking the end of winter and welcoming the spring season. The festival is free and will feature dancing, holy powders, and food for purchase. The town will provide holy powder to attendees to get the event started, but attendees are strongly encouraged to bring their own holy powder to keep the fun going. Please note that this will be a dry holy celebration, so participants are asked to leave their water toys at home. Limited parking will be available at Cedar Fork Community Center. Shuttle transportation will run to and from Iron Mountain and Church Street Park. The town of Morrisville once again will celebrate NC Clean Water Education Partnership QEP Regional Creek Week program. Heard a lot about that from Tony Victor earlier. It's from March 18th through the 25th with fun, informative activities to educate our community about reducing stormwater pollution and the importance of keeping our waterways clear and clean. The theme for 2023 is Water Connects Us. Please check the website for more information and a complete schedule of events as they are confirmed. Just as a note, our municipality is one of the ones with the most opportunities and most events in the region. So it's really impressive the work that our stormwater staff has done to make that happen. Save the date to join the town of Morrisville for our annual Easter egg hunt on Thursday, April 6th at Morrisville Community Park, starting at 5:45. And new this year, there's a Peeps in the Park scavenger hunt will be offered. Find all the peeps hidden in the area and win a prize from the Parks Recreation and Cultural Resources Department. Brewster's Ice Cream truck will also be in attendance for you to purchase a sweet treat to help celebrate spring. Please see our event page for more details as they become available. We always have lots of other things going on the calendar online, so please check us out there. And our social media is pretty robust as well. At this time, we're going to have council comments. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Rabati, followed by Councilmember Fender, please.
No comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Fender, followed by Councilmember Rao.
I don't have any comments.
Okay, Councilmember Rao, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
I just got a few comments. First of all, I want to wish everyone a happy Women's History Month again and Holi. A quick thing I want to bring up to council. There's been recently, I've been getting more complaints about speeding on Morrisville Carpenter Road, and I know we've been tracking our, our legislative agenda, but there is a bill on the floor that passed the House called HB 388 that allows, it's going to allow Durham to have speed cameras for school zones, and it's going to allow other local governments to add on to that. So that's something I would ask our police department and staff to explore possibly. I'm not sure where they stand on it, but I think it's a great way to address through automation speeding, given staffing levels. Just something for us to think about as we deliberate on the budget. Secondly, there's a small business town hall I'm hosting with Alan Thomas, the director of SBA, Congressman Ross Fouché, and Secretary of State Elaine Marshall. The event is sold out, but you can get it on Zoom. I'm going to be posting that. It's going to be a great opportunity to talk about access to capital loans. So if you're a minority business, if you're a veteran business, if you're a small business and you're listening, we'd love to have you join online or join the wait list. I want to thank Secretary Weaver, the Secretary of North Carolina Technology, for accepting our invitation to attend the Smart City Advisories Committee meeting on the 23rd. And I want to thank the Morrisville Chamber for a great event. The final thing is I'm wearing my Wake Tech medal, which I got at the Wake Tech event, and I just thought it was a great event. The mayor was there. The theme of Wake County running on Wake Tech, and it really made me think of how fortunate we are You're doing all this great stuff with Wake Tech, with our schools, and the kinds of opportunities the community college is giving for those that just can't go the conventional educational path. So I just want to thank and congratulate Scott Rawls, President Rawls, and the foundation for a great event. That's all I've got.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, followed by Councilmember Garamella, please.
So I just have one comment. I just want to kind of recognize, honor. We lost a longtime resident last Friday. Peggy Luter passed away. And this morning at Good Hope Baptist Church. And she and her husband, Grover, were married for 67 years. And shortly after they got married, they built the house on Davis Drive. And though many of us probably, many of you never met Peggy or Grover, I had the pleasure of knowing Peggy well. They have the house on Davis Drive right next to CVS where she decorates for every holiday. So like a lot of people around here probably never met Peggy, but were influenced by her, were really saw her work and she made a lot of people really happy. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, like I said, she passed away last Friday. And, I was on council when the Luters came and asked us to subdivide that property so they could sell the corner for the CVS drugstore. Their whole goal was to be able to live their lives in that house. And selling that corner helped them financially to stay there. And that really makes me happy today when I think about Peggy. And of course, Grover is still in the house today. So anyhow, just my thoughts and prayers to the Luter family, and I wish them peace and comfort in the days ahead.
Thank you. Councilmember Garamella, followed by Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
That house, like from last 20, 22 years. Horses too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I still really like, and the way they decorated, during Christmas time, I don't think, I was thinking, who has so much energy to do all that, Thanks for saying that. I was not aware of it. No comments, and just wanted to, Happy Women's Day, we had it.
Okay. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, followed by myself.
I don't have any comments tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
I just want to say happy Holy and happy Pi Day. You can see up in the bottom left corner on our screen. That's kind of good fun. So thank you to staff for doing that. At this time, I'd like to recognize Town Manager Page for any comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to ask Aaron Hudson to come up and give a quick update on a guest at Holy.
Mayor, members of the council. As you all know, in our continued efforts to help you maintain and build and facilitate relationships with our local and federal delegates, we do have confirmation that Congresswoman Ross will be at Holy on Saturday from 12 to 1. We don't have full details at this time. We're still working those out, but wanted to let you know that she will be there. She will be in attendance along with one member of her staff. So really pleased that she's going to be able to join us. And as soon as we get some additional details finalized, we'll be sure to share those with you all.
She came last year, too.
Anything else, Town Manager Page? Okay. We have two closed sessions this evening to discuss a personnel matter and the acquisition of real property. We do not plan to conduct any further public business after our closed sessions, so at this time, we'd like to thank you for watching this meeting of the Morrisville Town Council. We hope you plan to join us again. Please feel free to email your town council members at towncouncil@townofmorrisville.org or visit www.townofmorrisville.org/council for additional contact information. At this time, I would ask for a motion to enter into closed session.
Mayor and council, I'll move us into closed session pursuant to North Carolina statute 143.318.11A6 and A5. I move that we go into closed session for discussing personnel matter and real property acquisition.
Second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously. It is 8:50. We are now at closed session. Thank you very much.